Hey everybody, it's Mike Frieder here with On-Call Compliance Solutions, and I'm back with another compliance tip of the week. Today we're here talking about some of the news out of the CMMC, which is now rebranded the Cyber AB, because before 1.0 and 2.0 there had to be one more change. Discussing the draft CMMC assessment process. Now, you are going to want to stay tuned to this entire video because I dropped some big bombshells about major changes to the certification process that are hyper relevant to any company that's actually looking to get certified. So if you're DFARS and NIST compliant now, great. If you're not, call us. But really, if your goal is CMMC certification, you're going to want to understand this stuff. I think it's pretty important. So look, standard disclaimer, it's all in draft form right now. So we're bringing you this information. It's almost like an MTV exclusive, right? We're bringing it to you here first, right? So as it's released, but it's not subject to change. Or it is subject to change, and again, when's it going to change? I don't know. When's the wind going to change direction, or, what are the whims of the DoD going to be tomorrow? Who knows? So be aware of that, right? But here's what the most current stuff is. So in this video, we're going to drop on you the 4 basic phases of getting CMMC certified once you have gotten prepared and think you're ready, okay? So in upcoming episodes, I'll dive more into detail about this. But this video is designed to just be that nice 10,000 foot overview to help you get prepared for what's coming. So 4 phases that you'll have to go through during the certification process. Hopefully the camera caught all 4 of my fingers, otherwise it looks a little weird. Anyway, so phase 1, plan and prepare the assessment. Now, in this phase, the main objective is going to be to scope the project of getting certified. Okay, so I know that sounds really goofy. If you're a small business, you're like, I'm 10 computers, scope's gonna be pretty clear. But let me tell you what, the larger your scope is, right, the more the assessor has to do, the more you're gonna pay, right? So the idea here is to attempt to minimize the cost and time involved in your assessment. Maybe your assessors don't want you to know that. I do. I just help you get there. So just kidding. I mean, well, not really kidding, actually. I mean, it is true, but ultimately the assessors want the same thing. Look, they don't want a more complicated job than they need. Ultimately, the smaller the scope is on what is being assessed, the better it's going to be for them too, right? It's more black and white. It's more simple. So they're going to decide the following. Who will be the assessment team, right? Who from their company is coming to help assess? Remember, you got C3PAOs, you got CMMC registered practitioners, you've got professionals, you've got like a whole army of different kinds of certified people. There for sure needs to be at least one certified third-party assessing person. Okay, who will the assessment team be? What is the scope of what will be assessed, right? So is it just going to be your Office 365 GCC enclave? Do you have CUI running through your walls? Are you a manufacturing company that ultimately CUI is just everywhere? Figuring out scheduling, deciding on evidence to be collected and how, along with determining if assessment is actually feasible. Yes, there are going to be some companies where you dive into the scope and you're like, dude, no way, not going to be able to do it. Okay, not every assessor is big enough to handle Dell or Microsoft. There's 1 or 2 out there, but it's not a lot of people that can handle something like that. Or it might literally just not be feasible. So again, I would probably say the number one thing to figure out is it even feasible? Is the project doable, right? Obviously there's a lot of factors that go into that. Now, if you make it through phase 2, right? If you've got to the point where you've got a scope defined and who's going to be involved and what evidence needs to be collected in order to prove that you're compliant, then boom, baby, we're on to phase 2, conducting the assessment. This phase will be the hands-on phase where evidence is examined. So your SSP, like your system security plan, if you got a sister security plan, hey, hats off to you, man, she needs it. Likely your POAM will need to be at least reviewed. Evidence supporting your control answers will need to be reviewed, often with over-the-shoulder views of policy. I remember when it first came out in CMMC RP training, they used to call it shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing sounds really cool until you realize that there's no waves going across your shoulders, and that's just weird. But anyway, I don't know where to go from there. Anyway, yeah, shoulder surfing, views of policies and configurations, in our opinion. The assessment team will identify any documentation gaps. So again, if you have existing documentation, they're going to want to see it, see the gaps, etc. I don't know if there's like a plead the fifth option here, but Just keep that in mind, right? So look, during this phase, if the correction of a setting is all that is needed, it will likely be pointed out and just taken care of. It's that easy to do. Now, I'm going to tell you that's not officially written in there. That's us here at On Call basically saying that. But look, I've talked with enough assessors basically say, look, if you got like a setting that's messed up, you know what, it's a radio button fix away. I think you'll probably be able to get away with some of that stuff. But again, they're going to go through, they're going to assess it. So this phase ends with the assessor giving a final call on each control or practice with a met or not met, determining a final recommended result. And there is at least a mention, awkwardly, of supporting any kind of an appeals process, right? So like one of the last things is that the assessment team has to be there to support an appeals process. So that's kind of an indication, like we're only in phase 2 of 4 and we're already talking appeals here. Hey, again, this is a draft, so likely that part might be moved around a little bit later once this is closer to being finalized. Hey, give those guys some credit, all right? They got a hard job writing a bunch of technical documentation to try to keep the entire world secure, right? So, you know, I have to give them at least a little bit of credit. I know in other videos I kind of bag on them a little bit. It's all in good fun. Hey, you know what? If you're one of those guys, you rock. It's not an easy task to do. But in the meanwhile, I'll make fun of your typos. So, just kidding. So, look, there's going to be an appeals process. I think, you know, just me personally as someone who helps people get ready for this, I've had an infinite number of conversations with C3PAOs already before anyone even gets assessed about, you know, how they're going to assess and whether, you know, their assessment methods are legitimate and all this other kind of stuff. I can only imagine what a mess the appeals process is going to be. But one way or another, that's not really our problem now because we're only in phase 2, and here comes phase 3. Report recommended assessment results, all right? So they assess you, now we're gonna report on you. You're going to the principal's office. No, I'm just kidding. In this phase, assessors are gonna work with the organization being assessed to finalize the results package, evaluate deficiencies, and evaluate how they may be fixed or resolved. So in other words, they're gonna review it with you. Presumably to verify that the way they plan to be fixed will in fact meet the controlled demands if you got deficiencies, and prepare and submit a final package and recommendations to the, I can't say CMMC, it's written right here, but it's the Cyber AB, and maybe the Cyber AB thing happened in the middle of editing, I don't know. Maybe it's just our editing. Maybe our editing is the problem. I don't think so. Anyway, it's probably a little bit of both, right? That's how it works, right? That's how compliance works. I'll take blame, you take some blame, well, I'll just be blamed. That sounds kind of down. We're gonna pass, we're gonna be met. I meet you, you meet me, we're both met. We don't want anybody to not be met. Okay, all right, lost you on that one. I'm back. Look, the parties are also required to archive or dispose of assessment artifacts and schedule a POAM closeout assessment if that is necessary. I don't think that means flush the classified documents down the toilet, but it kind of sounds like it. Presumably meaning that any remaining POAM items critical to fix will require a follow-up meeting or just a flush. Maybe not with the first button, like the 1 drop, but the 2 drop button, maybe that's the one to use. Anyway, all right, phase 4, closeout POAM and assessment if necessary. Optional 4th phase to perform a closeout assessment. Presumably, if you didn't pass, update the POAM. Can you tell I spend some time in hotel rooms? I mean, we travel around a lot. All right, sorry, totally lost there. Phase to perform a closeout assessment, presumably if you didn't pass, update the POAM closeout, resend the package back to the CMMC, and handle any appeals the organization seeking certification may have. So essentially, phase 4 presumably is, number 1, close out any loose ends. If they didn't pass, update it, get them to help them out, right? Like tell them what they didn't pass on. My understanding is assessors can't directly tell you, what you have to do to fix it. You've got to figure that out on your own. If you're just like really struggling, just call us and we'll help you with it. Look, how does this differ from what we knew before? So number 1, we didn't know there were 4 phases to the whole assessment process. I thought there was just 2. But hey, what do I know, right? I know a lot more now, and so do you. So I'd say not much changes, but the process is finally becoming a bit more clear and concrete. It's a scary term to use in the CMMC process. So I'd say the biggest thing that I find interesting is that there seems to be built-in areas for handling deficiencies, which I think is very cool, right? Because there's got to be some level of reasonableness. I'll call it that. So I don't know how it will work out in real life, but it seems like there is room if an issue is found for someone to be able to quickly correct it if that is possible during the assessment. Good thing, right? Ding! One for the CMMC AB, Cyber AB, whatever they are. That is great news for the friendliness of this process. I'm a huge fan of that, okay? There is no doubt that assessment will be intensive, thorough, and a lot of work to complete, like a cavity search at the airport. However, overall the process seems more doable than ever because it only takes 4 phases to even just be assessed or obsessed. Anyway, more doable than ever, which is welcome evolution from past discussions of 100% mandatory passing on all controls. So I do want to point that out again. I think it's a way more lenient process. In all seriousness, look, you got 80% is a decent pass rate. You got some that are really important. You got to pass them, but past understanding was 100% mandatory passing. Something many defense contractors simply did not think was reasonable or possible. Another reminder that this information is coming out of a draft document, likely will be updated. What's important here is understanding the Cyber AB CMMC certification process intent and aligning the activities you are doing on a daily basis with it. So, hey, if you're trying to get compliant with DFARS, NIST SP 800-171, or CMMC on your own, and you're looking for help, and you can't even remember phase 2, like if you don't even remember what I talked about in phase 2 right now, you need our help. So our compliance experts are always on call for you. Visit NIST800-171compliance.com or check out the bio below for links to make life easy. There you can find more information about how we can help self-schedule time at your convenience with one of our compliance experts through any form on the website, or learn more about our completely done-for-you services that do not have 4 phases. You just call us and we do it. It's 2 phases. You call us, we do it. 3 words, 2 phases. And we can have you compliant in just 2 to 3 days. We're way easier to deal with in this process. We get it done in 2 to 3 days. It's pretty awesome. Love the content we're putting out here for you. Awesome. All right, we're going to keep doing it. Help us out with a big thumbs up on that like button. Show us that you love us, baby. We thrive off that love. And I seriously, makes my day. Literally, our editors jump up. Every time there's a like button, everybody jumps up and they run into my office and they're like, oh my God, we got another like. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. Let's keep doing it. Rock and roll, baby. Or even better, smash that subscribe button. That's what I'm supposed to say, to get the latest compliance content as soon as our compliance nerds roll it out. It's a great way to stay prepared for that upcoming CMMC certification. Everybody's going to have to eventually get through it. And until the next compliance tip, my friends, stay safe and secure out there. Hit us in the comments below to let us know what you'd like to know more about when it comes to information security and compliance. And I'll see you on the next one.